Welcome to Craftmas, everyone. I am so excited because for the first part of Craftmas, I am finally going to be diving into some of my raw fleeces that I've acquired over the last 3 years. Is it very cold outside? Yes. However, these fleeces are very fresh from the barn, let's say, and they smell like it. So I am going to be opening them and looking at them today outside. While I'm not going to be processing all 3 of these fleeces, I did want to talk about all the ones that I have. And I'm going to pick what I hope is going to be the best introductory fleece to work on to see if I can turn it from fleece to yarn? Am I aiming a little high? Maybe. The first fleece I want to talk about is a Gotland fleece. It's from a 6-month-old Gotland sheep, and I got this a few years ago at Rhinebeck. The scorecard is absolutely impeccable on this fleece, and when I bought it, I had no idea what I was looking for, and I can't really say that I really know now either. I'm still very new to this.
I love learning a little bit more about different sheep breeds, so I thought that I would give you a little bit of an introduction to each of the different kind of sheep fleeces that I have here. So the Gotland sheep is believed to be descendants of the flocks first established on the Swedish island of Gotland during the Viking era. On the northernmost tip of Gotland, the Faroe Island is home to the native breed of Gutefjord, and I'm so sorry about the pronunciations. I'm trying my best, but I also speak German, so that might be getting into it a little bit. I'm trying really hard. Many of the modern European short-tailed breeds of sheep are descended from the Gutefjord sheep, and the modern-day Gotland is one of them. Sweden, of course, has the largest populations of Gotland sheep flocks. I think that their temperament is wonderful. I've been lucky enough to see them in multiple sheep shows, and they have just the sweetest temperament. I love snuggling with them. They do not have horns, and they have these curly fleeces, and they don't have hair on their faces or their legs. Compared to other sheep breeds, the Gotland sheep are relatively new in the United States. The first was brought over in 2003, and the Gotland Upbreeding Project began, and it wasn't until 2015 that 97.5% Gotland lambs are born in North America, as well as a small number of 100% Gotlands, and they're really trying to maintain genetic diversity. So what's really wonderful about the Gotland fleeces is that they are more curls in their locks. They don't really have any crimp at all. They are silky and lustrous, and they really have this beautiful, almost gray silver coloring because of their luster. Even though the color of the wool is silver and shines really silver in the sunlight. This is quite an old fleece, so it needs quite a bit of cleaning before you see that luster, but you can even see it on the sheep as you are observing them run around in the fields. They really look like they're shining silver. Gotland sheep fleeces are very fine, so their micron count is quite small, and because this is a 6-month-old fleece, or the fleece from a 6-month-old sheep, it's even finer, which is why, as you probably saw on the price tag, it is not an inexpensive fleece to buy. I debated for a long time whether or not to get this fleece, and I'm so glad that I bought it when I did. But I'm definitely going to wait a little bit until I touch this one.
Gotland fleeces are absolutely incredible, and I cannot wait to work with it, but I think this might be my most precious fleece that I have, so I'm going to wait until I have a little bit more experience before I start tackling this one. The next fleece I want to talk about is this Romney wool, and while Romneys do come in light colors, most of the ones that I've seen at Rhinebeck have been that beautiful teddy bear brown, and they look like teddy bears, although they have been quite some feisty sheep when I saw them at the sheep shows. The Gotlands are so even-tempered, and the Gotlands and the Romneys show at the same time at Rhinebeck, and the Romneys are fighting their handlers the whole time while the Gotlands are just relaxing. But this is another fleece where I feel like I again, have no idea what I'm looking for, but the scorecard was quite good. The sheep is 1 year and 10 months old when it was shorn, and it was 10 months worth of growth. So why don't we look a little bit closer at this fleece and about Romneys in general, especially Romneys in North America.
The American Romney traces its beginnings back to the marshy area of Kent in England. Its origin lies with the old and established dual-purpose Romney Marsh breed, which is over 250 years old. It's a dual-purpose breed, which means that it is bred and can be used for both meat and wool, but I'm personally interested more in the wool. As you can see, the fiber is super fluffy. It has so much crimp to it. It is wild, although it does form separate locks. It is considered a long wool, just like the Gotland sheep is. So in comparison to Gotland wool in adults has a micron count of 35 to 45. Lambs can be as low as 20 microns, which is why my lamb fleece is so precious. The Romney fleeces are even smaller, so even finer, with a micron count of about 29 to 36 microns. Like I said, they come in many different colors. It is the most popular sheep breed in New Zealand, and I think a lot of those sheep, at least the ones in my mind, are very natural, like cottony white. But the ones that I always spot at Rhinebeck are this beautiful teddy bear brown. And I cannot tell you how fluffy and soft this fleece is. I wish I could hand this to you through the screen so you can feel it. It definitely has a lot of the lanolin still in it. So it's still pretty greasy and it's been compressed for a while. So it needs careful handling and a good wash before I can use it, but this I don't think is also going to be a very good candidate for my first fleece to process. Like I said before, it's just a little too precious and I want a little bit more experience before I touch this one and I try my hand at it.
So I have saved the one that I think I'm going to work on for last. Now I actually have it in two sections in here, and this is an alpaca fleece. It might be two alpaca fleeces. I don't remember 100%, I have to be honest.
Editing me jumping in here really quickly to say that I'm going to improperly refer to one of these fleeces, unfortunately, and it's going to be the one that I'm going to process. And it is two separate fleeces in this bin. It is a sheep fleece from a Ryland sheep, just so you know. It's two fleeces, one alpaca, one Ryland. Let's talk about the alpaca.
These fleeces actually came from Scotland. When I went to Scotland with my mom on like a fleece and yarn and history journey of weaving and knitting and all of that, we went to a sheep and alpaca farm called Elkies, and I got to meet the alpaca that the fleece came from and I bought it. Before I start working on any of it, why don't I give you a little bit more information about alpaca wool, alpaca fleeces,
a little bit of history on the alpacas. They are the result of nearly 6,000 years of animal husbandry in South America, and Andeans have worn garments finished from lovely alpaca fleeces. They're part of the camelid family, so think camels as well as vicuña and the llama and, of course, the alpaca. They were first imported into North America in the early 1980s, and they are quite sweet, easily managed, and hardy creatures. Again, another one where I wish I could hand it to you just through the screen. It is so incredibly soft. It also helps that alpacas don't have lanolin like wool does. So if you have a sensitivity to wool, either because it's maybe a bit scratchy or because of the lanolin, then alpaca is something that you can try because alpacas do not have lanolin. The fiber that they produce is very, very fine. The one that I have is called a huacaya, which is mostly hollow fiber. So alpaca is also much warmer than wool because the fibers are hollow. So that is very much more insulating. So anytime you make anything with alpaca, just remember it is going to be very, very warm. And there's also the Surrey alpacas, which is a very silky type of fiber. Talking about micron count, their micron count is between 22 and 27, so very, very fine. It is also, I feel like, really, really precious because alpacas are only sheared once every year to 2 years, whereas sheep are shorn up to 2 times a year. So this is quite a lot of growth for me to have of this very lovely alpaca. And also probably another reason why I will not be processing it this time. And instead, let's talk about the fleece that I will be processing, which is from a Ryland sheep. The Ryland is one of the oldest English sheep breeds going back 7 centuries, and they were bred and grazed on rye pastures, of course, giving them their name. They are quite docile, and I got to visit the farm Elkies in Aberlour, and I had such a great time. I was lucky enough to be there during lambing and kidding season. It was just so wonderful to see the animals in their element, and I was lucky enough to see both the fleeces that they had for sale, of which, of course, I chose one sheep and one alpaca, as well as the finished wool and then wool blankets that they make from their fleeces. So I got to see what it looks like coming from a mill before I'm going to try to do this myself with this particular fleece. Now, why did I choose this fleece as the one to do? So for me personally, this was my least precious fleece in terms of cost. The second is that it is quite a dirty fleece, so I felt like I could see a lot of change in it if I washed it. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. These sheep just live on the pasture and they are having a great time, so I'm happy for the sheep. It just does have a lot of things that I need to skirt off of it. It has a lot of lanolin that has to be boiled off of it. But the other side of this fleece and what makes it so nice is that it is actually very resistant to felting. One of the biggest issues as a first-time processor of fleece, the first step in this is cleaning the fleece. And if you agitate it too much, or if you change the temperature too much, or if you add, I don't know, too much soap, there's just a lot of ways that you can accidentally ruin a fleece by felting it. And it's really nice that the Ryland fleece resists felting because of the structure of the individual fibers. So that's why this is the perfect choice for me, I think, to do as my first processing attempt of going from raw fleece to hopefully maybe yarn.
So the next steps, I guess, are I'm going to have to look up if I have to skirt this one. There's definitely a lot of VM in here, like vegetable matter and some droppings and things. Definitely going to have to scour this fleece, and we can start with this one. I am so excited. Relooking at all these fleeces just really reignites my excitement to work with them because they're all so beautiful and so soft and unique. Oh my gosh, the alpaca one, the one that I know is alpaca, is so soft. It's wild how soft it feels, and it's definitely a very different feeling because it doesn't have lanolin. If you're new to Craftmas, it's what I do in December. From the 2nd to the 24th, I will be putting out a video every other day where I follow kind of a cozy project from start to hopefully finish. We'll see how far we get. I guess I will see you the day after tomorrow, and we will get our hands dirty working with this fleece. Oh, and if you can't wait until then I will put up some past year's Craftmas playlists here. So if you want to get your fill of cozy crafting content for this time of year, feel free to check out some of those videos on those playlists. I'll see you soon. Bye!